All right, good evening, Baptist Church. We had a great evening. Awana folks asleep here, okay? No way enough this evening.
Great is your faithfulness, O God. You wrestle with the sinner's restless heart. You lead us by still waters and to mercy. And nothing can keep us apart. So remember your people, remember your children, remember your promise, O God. Your grace is enough, your grace is enough, your grace is enough for me. Great is your love and justice, God of Jacob. You use the weak to lead the strong. You lead us in the song of your salvation. And all your people sing along. So remember your people, remember your children, remember your promise, O God. Your grace is enough, your grace is enough, your grace is enough for me. Your grace is enough, your grace is enough, your grace is enough for me. So remember your people, remember your children, remember your promise, O God. Your grace is enough, your grace is enough, your grace is enough for me. Your grace is enough, heaven reaching down to us. Your grace is enough for me.
Amen. Continue to stand as we sing Mighty to Save.
Everyone needs compassion, a love that's never failing. Let mercy fall on me. Everyone needs forgiveness, the kindness of the Savior, the hope of nations. Savior, He can move the mountains. My God is mighty to save. He is mighty to save. Forever, author of salvation. He rose and conquered the grave. Jesus conquered the grave.
So take me as you find me, all my fears and failures. Fill my life again. I give my life to follow everything I believe in. Now I surrender. Savior, He can move the mountains. My God is mighty to save. He is mighty to save. Forever, author of salvation. He rose and conquered the grave. Jesus conquered the grave. Shine your light and let the whole world see. We're singing for the glory of the risen King. Jesus, shine your light and let the whole world see. We're singing for the glory of the risen King. Savior, He can move the mountains. My God is mighty to save. He is mighty to save. Forever, author of salvation. He rose and conquered the grave. Jesus conquered the grave. Savior, He can move the mountains. My God is mighty to save. He is mighty to save. Forever, author of salvation. He rose and conquered the grave. Jesus conquered the grave. Amen. Why don't you get around and shake someone's hand tonight? Amen. To page 10 in our hymnals, singing the first, second, and last verse of "O Worship the King." O worship the King, all glorious above, and gratefully sing His wonderful love, our shield and defender, the Ancient of Days, pavilion and splendor, and girded with praise. Oh, tell of His might, and sing of His grace, whose robe is the light, whose canopy space, His chariots of wrath the deep thunder clouds form, and dark is His path on the wings of the storm. Frail children of dust, and feeble as frail, in Thee do we trust, nor find Thee to fail. Thy mercies how tender, how firm to the end, our Maker and Defender, Redeemer and Friend. And let's continue by turning back to the back of your hymnals to page 556, and we'll sing all three verses of "Now Thank We All Our God." Now thank we all our God, with heart and hands and voices, who wondrous things have done, in whom the world rejoices, who from our mother's arms have blessed us on our way, with countless gifts of love, and still is ours today. Oh, may this bounteous God through all our life be near us, with ever joyful hearts, and blessed peace to cheer us, and keep us in His grace, and guide us when perplexed, and free us from all ills, in this world, in the next. Oh, praise and thanks to God, the Father now be given, the Son in Him who reigns, with Him in highest heaven, the one eternal God, whom earth and heaven adore, for thus it was, is now, and shall be evermore. And we'll be ending with one that I think that just about everyone knows, the doxology, page 625, page 625. Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise Him, all creatures here below. Praise Him above the heavenly host. Praise Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. And you may be seated.
each borrowed breath you give, every sacred day I live. Lord, my declaration is, I will worship you. Every hour is a gift, passing like the morning mist. The passion of my heart is this, I will worship you. In the best and worst of times, and all that life may take me through, with each borrowed breath you give, Jesus, I will worship you. Every dawn, Lord, help me see the hands of time move like a thief. The days are long, but the years are brief. So I will worship you. In the best and worst of times, and all that life may take me through, with each borrowed breath you give, Jesus, I will worship you. In the best and worst of times, and all that life may take me through, with each borrowed breath you give, Jesus, I will worship you. When I breathe my final breath, and heaven's light becomes my rest, I'll join the song that never ends, and I will worship you. Jesus, I will worship you. Forever I will worship you.
And thank you, Miss Olivia. Wanted to change up the order a little bit tonight. Reminder as this month is a month that we try and strive to do something a little different with guarding our hearts and homes, to have some practical things that every home and every Christian could grow from or use. And tonight is something very skillful. Brother Jonathan Emmer is going to come and talk to us. You've got a handout there, so I don't need to tell you what it's about. But he's very wise in these things and works in these things, has set the church up. A very valuable asset here, and has protected our computers and done other things here with the website. And so if you haven't seen the new Created website, he did those types of things. And so it's really important in this day and age we live in, right? Every 2-year-old in the church knows how to work a phone or a computer or know how to do these things. And so I think it's really valuable information these guys. So Brother Jonathan, if you'll come ahead, we'll have him. You guys can give him a big round of applause. That's fine. And then also next week, I want to let you know, next week we have some sensitive material in the evening service. So there'll be no live stream next Sunday night. But there is church, okay, at 5 p.m., and Pastor Randy Salyer is going to be giving us something from his heart devoted to a certain topic in guarding our hearts and homes that I think is really, really needful as well. And so these two guys, they're going to have that opportunity to share something with you from their hearts that you will get a lot from. So show up, be here, amen. Don't eat so much turkey and ham that you don't come next Sunday night, all right? And so we'll have a good time. There'll be Awana, but I appreciate it. And thank you for doing this, Brother Jonathan. Go ahead, my friend.
All right. Set here. So Jacob had, sorry, just a little loud, there we go. Jacob had a lot of issues in his life, right? And he found himself, after he fled Laban, in some very difficult situations, right? At the beginning of Exodus 33, Jacob has just re-entered the land, right? Come back into Israel. And he's trying to find a place to live, and lo and behold, someone comes along and says, hey, your brother, you know that guy that you stole the birthright from? He's kind of mad, and he's coming at you with 400 fighting men. Jacob freaks out a little bit. I think most people probably would. Number one, he didn't want to fight his brother. Number two, he realized he was in the wrong originally. And number three, he's got his family. And he doesn't necessarily have the means to protect them from 400 fighting men. He knows his brother is a skillful hunter, skillful warrior. What chance does he have? Right? So he starts to take some preventative measures, and he splits up his family. Right? Now, he takes the ones he loves the best and puts them, at the back of the line, and then the ones that are just okay, they're in the middle, and then everyone else is right up front. And that way, if his brother does come along, the ones he loves best get the best chance of escape. Take that for what you will. But the point is, he took measures to protect his home, to protect his family. We need to do the same. Well, how do we do that in this world of technology? We take so much time to make sure that our homes are secure, that our cars are secure, but a lot of times we don't when it comes to technology. And I find that people tend, the average person falls into one of two categories. Either, and I'm not talking about the tech geeks like me, all right? Just average Joe on the street. Either they fall into the category of, they know nothing about computers. They're kind of scared by them, and so they just like, I turn it on and that's it, right? Well, those people typically don't have the right protections in place because they're scared. And I understand it's a scary world. There's a lot of information out there. Is it this way or is it this way, right? You get 3 computer guys into a room and ask them a question, you're going to get at least 4 answers. That's just the way that it works. The other group thinks they know a lot about it. And so they get in there and they either cause more problems than were there originally, or they think that they're safe and secure and they're not. So today I just want to take a little bit of time and talk through some of the dangers that are out there. Brandon, I think I've got some slides there if you want to move to the second one. Yeah, there we go. All right, so this is kind of what we're going to be going through today. And let me pull this up on my side so I can follow along. We're going to take a look at the threats, the types of threats that are out there, and what they mean to you. What are the real-world consequences of those threats? You get a virus, what does that mean, right? We're going to look at some of the tools that you have that are available to you that can help protect you. That's mainly what's on your handout there. We're going to look at the techniques, and really that third one, that's where I want to spend the bulk of the time. And then we'll just kind of have a general Q&A session if you have any specific questions. Go ahead and go to the next slide there. All right, so these are some of the threats. Now, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds here, right? I know, a lot of you aren't tech people. You don't geek out on this stuff like I do. Believe me, that's probably a good thing. But it is important that you know what's out there, okay? The first category there on your left, and let me just say, I apologize. I know the fonts are a little small. When I did them on my computer, they looked great, and I just, different technology. So when the first category there on the left, malware, is probably something you're all heard of, at least in passing. Right, this is malicious software. That's what malware stands for. It's some piece of software that gets installed onto your computer either accidentally or maliciously or some other means, and it does damage. Right? Viruses, worms, adware, keyloggers, botnets, ransomware. You don't need to know what all that is. Okay? But understand, this stuff has a real world impact on your computer. It's not just a matter that, no, now my computer stops functioning, right? That, at best case scenario, that's what happens. You start to have some computer problems. It's slow when you get onto the internet or things like that. Worst case scenario is someone, like that last one, ransomware, that's where someone hijacks your machine, they lock it, they encrypt your data, and all of your family photos, your documents, your music, any videos you have on there, they say, hey, guess what, you can't get to these now, but if you want them back, you've got to pay X amount of real-world money, and we'll release it to you. That's a real-world thing. I mean, think about how many photos you have on your phone and on your computer. It's not an easy thing to lose all of those memories, right? Some others of these, the adware, the viruses, those kinds of things, can get in and they'll steal your money. You go to your bank account and all of a sudden, you just had that paycheck, you go in, you look at your bank account, and it's gone. And now you're in the negative, so now you also owe money, right? Identity theft. A lot of these play into that as well. Hackers, people actually get in and sometimes it's not just software, sometimes it's a person that's targeting you. The dark web isn't so much a threat, it's an area of the internet where all of this stuff is sold. You hear about the data leaks, AT&T or Verizon or some bank somebody's hacked into their system and gotten all these usernames and passwords and credit card numbers and social security numbers. What is someone going to do with 10 million names? They're going to go out to the dark web, they're going to sell them. Phishing, right? Those scam emails. Hey, click here and there's a problem with your account. Just give me your information, we'll fix it. Impersonation. Sometimes just losing the device, right? I mean, we all have mobile devices, mobile phones, tablets, things that your laptops that you take with you on vacation, and oops, it got left somewhere. Well, that's a risk, because now someone can pick that up and they've got your whole life in the palm of their hands. And if it's not properly secured, they can get it and they can run. And then compromised websites. And this one, for me, this is the most frustrating one. You can do everything right, but then your bank gets hacked. And now your information is gone, right? Your money is gone. And yeah, you'll get it back eventually. But all of that, if you're not taking the proper precautions, that last one, there's not much you can do about it, but there are some steps you can do to be prepared for it. Next slide there. So what are some of the things that can actually happen? And I've already mentioned some of these, so I'm not going to spend too much time here. Equipment malfunctions, right? Your machine, your computer, your phone, your tablet, your TV, your watch, whatever it is, slows down, right? It breaks, or it's not working the way that it's supposed to. We've all had it. Now, sometimes that just happens because, like a car, your computer needs a tune-up. But sometimes it happens because you've gotten into, there's a virus or there's malware, there's something on your system that's causing that to happen. Privacy loss, that's all over the news anymore, right? If you're not taking the steps, you've got a Facebook account, and they've got all kinds of different privacy options to say, what do you want the world to see? What do you want just your friends to see? What do you want just for you? If you're not taking the time to go through those options, well, now all of a sudden, things that you kind of wanted to keep private are out there for the world. And believe me, when you go to hunt for a new job, they're looking at Facebook and seeing what you have that's out there that's public. They want to know who you are. Now, sometimes it's just a matter of, well, who is this person? You're kind of curious. But depending on the job, sometimes they're going to base their decision, and you've got those photos or something that you've posted out there that is really none of their business or that's being taken out of context, and now they see it, right? The data loss, we've already talked about that. Losing your photos, your music, your memories. being taken from the sites that you normally visit and going to being redirected to sites that are dangerous, right? Sites that just ads everywhere. Who likes to see ads when you're on the internet, right? It's like they're all over. I love to cook. I'm telling you, cooking websites are the worst for advertisements. It's like, just show me the recipe, right? A lot of those advertisements are actually a security threat because the advertising companies are more concerned about getting the money for the ad than they are about checking to see if the ad is safe. And so a lot of times that's where your malware can come from. You're on a perfectly legitimate website, but they've posted an ad that's dangerous, and you don't realize it, right? Pornography is certainly all over there. You've got kids, and they're surfing the internet for school, and now all of a sudden there's those images. Don't want them seeing that. Scam websites and other dangerous websites that are out there. Financial loss we've talked about, identity theft we've talked about, and then just the time and productivity loss. You use computers for everything. I'm on my computer minimum 8 hours a day as I do my job. I can't do my job without my computer. And if it gets infected, now I've got to take time off of work to take care of this. Even if it's just a home machine, now you've got to pay for somebody to come out to fix it or take it someplace and have it fixed and hope that you don't lose anything that's important on the computer. Next slide, please. So what kinds of things need to be protected? Well, sure, your computers, right? But remember, technology is in everything. You've got your computers, your tablets, your smartphones. Everybody carries a phone around anymore. Is that secured? Do you have a password on it? Do you have an antivirus program on it? Do you have some kind of filtering software for it? Your wireless network. You contact Spectrum or AT&T or whoever you go through for your internet, and they come out and say, all right, you're all set up. Your password is 1234. That's the default password. It's fine. Just leave it. Have you protected your wireless network? Because people do drive around. They will drive around looking for networks that are unsecure, and at best, they'll just steal your internet. At worst, they're going to try and, now that's a doorway into your other computers, right? Your online accounts. How many of you have, a bank account online or email online? I mean, basically everybody, right? How many of you have the same password for your bank as for your email? How many of you have the same password, on any website? Get stolen once, now all the websites are compromised. IoT, it stands for Internet of Things. Smart anything. Smart TV, smart watch, smart thermostat, smart light bulb, right? Anything that falls into that category, just those general things that, have you thought about securing that wireless thermostat? Oh, it's so great, I can just from my phone turn my thermostat up, and when I get home, it's going to be a nice, toasty 64 degrees. It's going to be great. We keep it cold in our house, But have you secured that? Because that's a way for somebody to get in and to use your thermostat to get onto your computer now to steal your identity. Those are all things that you have to think about. Anything that connects to the internet. Your watch, if it's not properly secured, is now a doorway. Game consoles, your credit accounts through the 3 credit bureaus, your security system. A lot of, Heather and I have just kind of one of those do-it-yourself security system that connects out to the internet. Love it, it's great, but is it properly secured and configured? Because somebody can use that to get into other places. Next slide. All right, so just real quick, the prevention tools, and I'm not going to belabor this too much, just because there's, you've got your hand out there, but there's plenty of tools out there that you can use to help keep yourself safe, right? Now, one of the things you have to remember with tools is that there's a lot of options, there's a lot of choices, right? And there's stuff out there for people of every budget. Now, I do not believe in spending money just because you can, right? I also understand that not everybody has a budget to go and get all of these things. Every tool that I'm recommending for you, I've given you a paid option and I've given you a free option. Every single one. Because I understand sometimes you just can't afford it, right? Antivirus programs can get awfully darn expensive, right? Especially when you've got, a large family and everybody has a laptop. How are you going to afford that? I mean, at $40 a pop, all of a sudden you're talking $300 or $400 just for some software. It gets very expensive. Now, that being said, not everything's created equal, right? Sometimes it is worth spending the money to get a paid version. Not always, it depends, right? And that's just where research comes in. That's where, asking the question. On the handout that I gave you, at the top is my contact information. By all means, please feel free to call me, feel free to email me. I'm happy to allow you to lean on my expertise and my training to kind of figure out what works best for you. One of the things as you're looking at the different tools that are available is to understand there is no one-size-fits-all solution. Everybody has a different setup, right? Everybody has different devices, different brands, different needs, different wants. And so it's impossible for me to say you need to do steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you'll be secure, you'll be safe when it comes to computers. You can't do that because everyone has something different. And again, that's where it comes into do your research. And if you're not sure, if you're one of those people that just kind of falls into the category of, I hate technology, it's kind of scary, call me, right? So some things you want to be looking at. Antivirus programs, right? That's kind of your key. But wait, my new computer comes with Windows Defender built in. Yes, it does. Don't use it. Get a different antivirus program, okay? There's two that I put out there. Malwarebytes is the paid version. That's the one that I highly, highly recommend. If I go to a customer's house and I'm removing a virus, this is the #1 program I go to. It just does a fabulous, fabulous job. One of the other reasons I like that particular program is because it detects what we call PUPs, potentially unwanted program, right? These are the semi-legitimate programs. You've been on, the computer, seen advertisements for say, hey, you're buying this product. If you just install this program, it's going to find all the coupons so you can save money. Okay, beware anytime you see that. There are legitimate coupon places out there, but most of them fall into this kind of gray area where they're really in it to try and steal more information than what they're giving. Okay? Malwarebytes finds those, gets rid of them for you. Free versions, Komodo free. How do you get a free antivirus? I just wanted to pause on this real quick. A free antivirus, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, they have a paid version. Why would you not do the free version if you can get the paid version? Paid version offers more functions, more features. But what they're doing is by putting their program out there for free, they're expecting that they're going to encounter more viruses, more bad software, and they can improve their program. You essentially become a guinea pig for them, right? It's really not a bad deal. If you're on a budget, do one of the free antivirus programs. There's more out there. Komodo's one that I like, but there are others, okay? Mobile antivirus. And again, this is where you get into your smartphones and your tablets. There are viruses out there for these. What's more, even if while it cannot be hurt by a virus for my computer, it can be a carrier. It can take the virus for my computer and transfer it, and now my computer's infected through my phone, okay? So you need some kind of software here. Password managers, believe me, I've been to enough homes where somebody has that little notebook sitting kind of, underneath their keyboard. No one's gonna find it there. And right big on top, it says passwords. That's a bad idea. Bad idea, right? Some people just use what's built into Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge or Firefox or your browser of choice, right? Bad idea. Those things are very easily hacked. Now, they're better than nothing, okay? but get a good password manager, and we'll talk about some of the reasons why in a little bit. Authenticator Programs. This is where you go to your bank, you log in, they say, hey, thanks for your username and password, but we really need to double check that it's you, and we just sent a code to your phone. And please enter that code within the next 2 minutes, otherwise we won't let you in. Right? If you have the option to do those kinds of things on any account, please do it. Now, all of a sudden, the bad guy who gets your username and password, because you have that authentication set up, they still can't get in because they don't have your phone. Right? Next slide. Network security. Everybody's got a wireless network these days, right? When you're at home, you don't want to be using the data on your phone, so you know what, I'm going to just connect to my wireless network. Everybody's got one. Is it secured? There's a lot that goes into that, and we're going to get to that in just a little bit. There are sites out there that monitor all of the compromised websites, and they'll report on it. One I recommend is Have I Been Pawned? It's a free website. You go in, you plug in your email address or email addresses, as in my case, if you've got more than one, and it'll monitor that for free and tell you if that email has been compromised, right? So everywhere you go, your username is almost always your email address, right? Just about everywhere. This site goes out and says, hey, you signed up for this account with, sticking with the cooking theme, I'm hungry apparently, all recipes, right? Guess what? We found that email address in this data breach. As soon as I get that notification, I go into my account and I change my password. Now, even if they did get in, it's changed. It's different. They can't. So you utilize some of those free resources that are out there. And then general computer maintenance, right? You do it on your car. You change your oil. You rotate your tires. It just got cold, so some of your pressure gauges probably went off saying, hey, you need to put some air in your tires. It's the same thing with your computer. You need to have it checked up every now and again because things happen, right? And a slower computer, one that isn't functioning optimally, will not be as efficient at keeping out the bad guys. Because it has to use cycles, it has to use processes to do its general everyday thing, and now it has to use more of that, and there's less available to defend. Right? Next slide. All right, so here's where we're going to spend most of our time today. Let me ask you this. What is the greatest technology threat? From the smallest home computer, it's just me at home and I've got my one little laptop, to the largest corporation. What's the greatest threat? Thoughts? Children? Pretty much. Next slide. It's people. You can have the best tools in the world, and it's not going to make a difference if you're clicking on those phishing emails and saying, why, yes, I'll be happy to give you my username and password for my bank account. You've given it away, and now they can get in and do whatever they want, right? It's just one of the facts that we have to face. And the same is true for you as it is for me. In my home network, I am the greatest threat. And I've been trained on how to do all of this stuff and how to think critically and to be suspicious about every email that I get. And even I've clicked on things, right? So it happens. So the next portion, you can go to the next slide there, Brandon, that I kind of want to go over is what kind of techniques do you use to keep yourself safe, right? This is by no means an all-inclusive list, but they're just kind of some of the things that I picked that I think are fairly easy for you to implement regardless of your experience level. And they give you the most bang for your buck. Now, again, on all of these things, if you're feeling overwhelmed and you're sitting in your seat tonight and you're saying, I don't have a clue what this guy's talking about, if that's you, call me. Okay? I'm serious with this because not everybody is a computer person. Not everybody likes dealing with this stuff. I've got plenty of friends, they've got a smartphone and that's all they have and they don't want anything else because they hate technology. That's okay. You don't have to learn all of this stuff, but know somebody who does, right? And at least I'll put myself out there, that's me, okay? All right, so number one, use the tools, right? I've given you the list. If you go out of here tonight and by the end of the week you realize you don't have an antivirus program installed, that's on you, right? Take the time to install one. You don't have the money, that's fine. There's free ones out there, right? Use the tools that are available for you. Number two, physical security. You can have all the protection you want on your computer, but if you sit down at Starbucks, work on your laptop, and you get up and walk away, and you haven't secured it to the table, it's gone, right? So just think through situational awareness. Make sure that physically you're protecting your items. There's stuff on your phone that, you've got names, you've got addresses, you've probably got credit card information on your phone. And we take our phones with us everywhere. Make sure that when you leave a place, your phone is with you, right? Software updates. I hate updating software. It takes forever, right? I've got to do this thing right now. That's fine. That's cool. But get the updates. There's a reason that they put software updates out there. It's because some bad guy has gone out there and realized, hey, I know how to utilize this, and I found a hole. And the software updates are fixing that hole. Get your software updates. Don't put them off. Next one, backup. Backup, backup, backup. Backup. I have 2 backups. I really should have more, right? But I have at least 2. I have an online backup. And anytime I make a change to any important file on my computer, it immediately gets backed up online, right? I don't have to do anything, it just does it. But then about once a week, once a month, I have a local backup. I have a hard drive that I plug into my computer, and I do a backup, and then I unplug it and I put it someplace safe. Why do I have 2 backups? Backups fail, right? I've seen too many times where somebody has taken the time to do the backup, and then I go and plug it in, and something went wrong. Something's not there, and now they've lost all of their data, right? The other reason is ransomware. Online backups are a big thing, right? And they're great because you don't have to think about it. You just do it. But if you get ransomware on your computer, that's one of those software that somebody comes in and they encrypt all of your stuff and they say, give us money or we're going to delete it, right? If you have an online backup account connected to your computer, the online backup accounts are affected by ransomware as well. That's why I always have a local backup that I unplug, because if it's not plugged into the computer, they can't get to it, right? Have multiple backup options. Safely get rid of old devices. You upgrade, you get a new computer. That's great. What are you doing with the old one? I just threw it away. Dumpster diving is real, okay? There are people that will go and sift through your trash and they will find these old computers, and now they have them. It's only a matter of time until they get in. If they physically can control the device, I promise you, they will get in. There's nothing stopping them. It may take a little time, but they'll get it. So are you safely getting rid of your old devices? Right? Depending on the device, there's different ways to do that. I'm not going to get into that tonight, but if you have questions, let me know. Kind of along that same line, because dumpster diving is real, please use a shredder, right? If you get junk mail, all right, those credit card applications, great, I have 2 already. I don't need a 3rd one, all right, whatever it is. And you get your bills in the mail. All of that has very sensitive information. Shred those things. Get a cross-cut shredder and shred them. If you have a fire pit, even better, burn them. But people will go dumpster diving and they will put that stuff, they'll get those documents, and now you've lost your identity. Okay? Keep private things private. Never, ever, ever tell anybody your password. No legitimate company will ever ask for your password. If you are working with a computer technician and they ask for your password, do not give it to them. Don't ever give me your password. I never ask for them. It's like, but I know this person, I trust them. Well, yeah, how much do you trust them? I mean, do you really want somebody to have the password to your bank account? No, keep it private. But it goes beyond more than that. How many of you ever been on Facebook and you see one of those posts, right? And they're out there and they say, hey, here's a funny picture, and you remember that favorite teacher you had in high school? Who was that favorite teacher? Let's all reminisce together. Warning, warning, that's a prime way to lose your information, right? When you go to a website and you set up a new account, you have those security questions at the end. What's your username? What's your password? What's your security questions, in case you forget your password? And what's always on that list? Who was your favorite teacher in high school? Where were you born? What's your mother's maiden name? And those kinds of questions. And now you've put that out on Facebook for the world to see because you think you're reminiscing about those old times, and what you're really doing is you're giving these bad guys free access to the answers to your security questions. And even if the person who is posting that post is legitimate, if you have opened up your Facebook, your Twitter, your whatever account to be public, it doesn't matter if that person was legitimate or not, you've opened up that stuff to the rest of the world. Now all they need is your username and password, and hey, I know where to go on the dark web to get that stuff. Okay? So be thinking about those things, because if it's private, keep it private. Turn on tracking. Now, I have a question mark on that one because this is pros and cons, and this is one of those things you got to decide for yourself, right? Every phone, most tablets have GPS. Are you going to turn on your location tracking? One of the nice things is if I lose my phone, I can find it. One of the bad things is now the companies that I give access to my phone, they can also track me. So if you're going to turn tracking on, I think it's a good thing personally, but that's just my opinion. If you're going to have it on, make sure that you're monitoring what applications on your phone have access to it. Does Facebook really need to know where you've been every moment of every day? Maybe, depending on what you do with Facebook, but maybe not, right? Credit freezes. This goes outside the realm of technology just a little bit, but I think it's important. The three credit bureaus, TransUnion, Experian, and whatever the other one is, they accumulate all of your credit information, right? And you go to open up a line of credit, you're buying a house, a new car, or opening a credit card, or frankly, even a bank account, or sometimes you're getting a new job. What do? They pull your credit, okay? It used to be that you could freeze those accounts, and only under certain circumstances, but the laws have changed. You can freeze those accounts for free. It doesn't cost you a dime. And that way, if anybody tries to go and pull that account, what they get is a list of zeros. What's your credit score? 0. What's your name? 0. What's your street address? 0. They can't see anything. Serves a couple of purposes. Number one, it reduces the amount of junk mail that you get, right? Because those credit card companies that you really don't want to get another credit card, they can't pull your credit, so they can't pre-authorize you for a certain amount, right? That's how they're doing that. They're doing a soft pull on your credit without your permission, which is perfectly legal, and they're saying, hey, you might qualify for this. Okay? So it reduces junk mail. Number two, if somebody steals your identity, they cannot open up new accounts in your name. Now, there are still other risk factors with identity theft, but that big one of, I didn't know I had this credit card, I never opened it, I didn't buy that house, which has happened, freezing your credit will prevent that. And it's free. Do it, please. Watch who you purchase from. It's the holidays. Everybody's looking for that cool gift, right? And where are you going to go? You're going to go online, right, to purchase. Purchase it from a reputable website. IHaveCoolStuff.com may have the exact thing that you need, but is it really a safe site to go to? Maybe, maybe not. Please don't use public Wi-Fi. In the middle of downtown Dayton, your phone dings and says, hey, there's open Wi-Fi. Don't connect to it. It could be legitimate, right? It could also be a fake hotspot that, yeah, it gets you out to the internet, but now somebody is doing what they call a man-in-the-middle attack, and everything that you send out to the internet, they're getting a hold of. Right? You go to Starbucks, you go to your favorite coffee shop, and they've got that free Wi-Fi. Please don't connect to it. If you need to, there are ways to protect yourself. I'm not going to go there tonight. My general rule of thumb is just don't connect to it. If you use a public computer, you go to the library, you get online, don't check your email. Don't check your bank accounts, right? Do that quick Google search that you need to do and get off. It's public. It means anybody can get on it. Get a checkup. We've already talked about this, but do the general maintenance that needs to be done on your computer. If you don't know how to do that, call me. I can either teach you how, or I can come and do it for you. General rule of thumb is if you aren't sure, ask. Ask somebody. There are resources out there. Next slide. Common attacks. How do the bad guys do what they do? The most common thing is what we call social engineering, right? They use psychology against you because most people fall into a couple of different categories in how they think and how they respond. And so they've learned how to use yourself against you, right? You get that phone call. Sir, ma'am, this is Microsoft, and we've just received notification from your computer that there's a dangerous virus that could lead to some identity theft. We need to get on there right now. If you'll just go to this website, we can connect, and we'll help you fix it for free. Sure they will. No, they won't. They'll use fear, right? You're in danger. You need to do something now. They'll use authority. This is Microsoft. We know. We understand. We know what's going on with your computer. Lack of knowledge. They trust that you don't know the danger signs. Urgency, right? That you have to do this right now or bad things will happen. Name dropping. And this can be anything from, yeah, I just talked with your friend Sue, because you've left your Facebook open and they can see your friends list, right? And she had a similar problem. We think maybe it came from her computer. So if you let us in, we'll fix you up just like we did with her, right? They understand the things that become successful. A couple of things to remember. Number one, no legitimate company will ever call you and tell you you have a problem with your computer. They don't do that, right? Microsoft does not fix computers. That's not what they're around for, right? If you call Microsoft and say, I'm having a problem, they will direct you to a different company and say, call them. They're the ones that fix it. We just produce the software, right? Phishing emails, right? These are those emails that you get and they say, there's been a problem with your account and we need to verify. Click here to log in. Don't ever click here to log in. It's fake, guaranteed. Now, thankfully, your Yahoos, your Gmails, your Hotmails, your Outlook.coms, those catch a lot of those things, but they do still slip through. Some things to watch out for is, number one, look out for spelling mistakes. Seriously. If there's a spelling mistake in this email, it's more than likely not legitimate. Okay? Look out for weird formatting. Why is there a line break, or why is there 3 spaces after that word? It's probably because somebody just did a very quick email and they're looking to get some information from you. Phone calls. Hang up. All right? Fake websites. This is where your most good antivirus programs are going to guard against those things. And then social media, we've already talked about some of that, right? These are all different ways that people use in order to attack you. One of the key things to remember, especially with the phishing emails, with the phone calls, hang up, delete the email, and call your bank. Call your, whatever company they're saying they're from, call them directly. You know the number, the 800 number to get a hold of your mortgage lender or your bank or your credit card company. Don't go through the email. Don't talk to the person on the phone. Say, I'm going to hang up and I'll call you back. And then call the number that you know 100% is real. If it's fake, they'll tell you. Right? Next slide. All right, so passwords. Everybody hates passwords. Everybody has a million of them. And that's why we reuse the same password over and over and over and over and over again. So I'm going to give you 2 ways to manage your passwords. Okay? Number 1, use a password manager. Okay, the one that I recommend, the one that I use personally, is called NPass. There are plenty of others out there. Use a good password manager. The database itself not only encrypts it, so it protects it. So if somebody gets that password file, they can't get into it, right? It just looks like gibberish to them. But NPass, the reason I recommend that is because it also goes through and it checks for websites that have been compromised. And it will alert you and say, hey, this email address has been compromised on this website. You may want to go check your account. And then you can take preventative measures, okay? Never reuse a password. If you can help it, never reuse a username. But the password, definitely, never reuse it. So how do you do that? How do you have a good password? I have 2 methods. Number 1, for a website that I go to only occasionally, and I don't care about remembering the password. Okay, these are like, I've got some tech forums that I occasionally log into if I've got a question, right? I use my password manager, which will also generate difficult passwords for me. And literally, most of those passwords are 54 characters long. They are a combination of uppercase, lowercase, symbols. 54 characters long. Nobody's going to guess it. I can't even remember it, right? But because it's in my password manager just does all the work for me. It's difficult, yeah, but I don't care because the software that I trust is doing the work for me, right? Now, that's not realistically going to work for your bank account because there are times that you have to go and log in and you need to remember what that password is. So how do you do that? And sometimes you've got multiple ones. How do you do that but still remember what the password is? I'm going to walk through this. If you have questions later, please get with me. Number 1, pick a common base. Every password that you have is going to have this base. It is the same for every password. So in this case, I did capital A dot Baptist with a capital B and a 1 for the I, and then a dot and a capital C, right? Assurance Baptist Church, right? That's going to be our base password. Every password from now on that I need to remember, that's the base. Now I'm going to develop a set of rules to add some information before and some information after. And as long as I remember what those rules are, now I know the password for every single website I ever visit, even if I haven't been there for a year. So in this case, my rules are, before that base password, I'm going to put an exclamation point and the number of vowels in the URL, okay, and the address at the top of the bar, right, top of your browser. I'm just going to count the vowels. I'm going to have an exclamation point and then a number, those number of vowels. But I want to add some information to the end. I'm going to have my year of birth plus the number of consonants in that URL and a percentage sign. I'm going to put that all together, and if I go to google.com and go to log in, if you can see it at the bottom, that's now my password. Now, that's a little more complex. It doesn't have to be quite that difficult. Honestly, for me personally, I only have the suffix. I don't have the prefix portion, right? I'm lazy, sorry. But I hope you get the concept here. I only have to really remember 2 things. I have to remember my base password, and I have to remember the rules. Now, because the rules are based off whatever website I'm on, now I don't have to remember the rest because I just apply the rules. little complex, but it's one way to do it. If that's too hard for you, honestly, that's fine. Use the password manager. Most password managers will recommend a difficult password for you. They'll say, here's a difficult one, go with that, and then it does the remembering for you. Okay. Next slide. All right, so that was a lot of information. I'm geeky, I understand that, and I know this, you may not have followed it, that's fine. Let me reiterate, this is where you rely on the tools, the people that are around you to keep yourself secure, all right? Personally, I used to own my own computer business where I went out and did this stuff for a living. I worked for Staples for a number of years where I went out and did this. So I have a fair amount of experience. Please, by all means, give me a call, all right? I'm happy to help wherever I can. What questions? Any specific scenarios, or is it just brain fried? I get it.
What should people do, especially like maybe married couples or parents to children? So say I'm in the hospital, but I need someone to pay my bills, or I die or something like that. What do people need to do so that someone else
Sure.
legitimate can pay bills?
Yeah. That's one of the reasons I recommend the password manager. I think that tool is one of the prime ways to do that. Most password managers will carry more than just passwords. The NPass that I recommend, I store all the serial numbers and photographs of every firearm I own. That way, if something gets lost, I can give that to the police and say, here's the serial number and here's what the firearm looks like, right? And you can do the same kind of thing. If, you can always give the password manager's master password to your spouse or your significant other. If you don't have somebody and you want to leave it in a will, what I recommend is writing that password down and putting it into a safe deposit box in the bank. And that way, in the event that something happens and, your heirs need to get to that information, they can. That's typically how I recommend.
So that'll help me with my wife, who forgets her Netflix password. And instead of calling me to get the password, she changes it without telling me. Way to go. In that situation, right?
Well, remember the number one problem with technology is people, so I don't know. But in all honesty, yes, I track a number of passwords for Heather. She auto logs into Facebook and she just gets a new phone. I don't remember what my password is. Well, I've got that information ready and handy for her. So those things are certainly there. One piece I didn't cover too much is the network security. I mentioned two pieces of software on there, NextDNS and OpenDNS. Highly recommend you get one of those. If you have children in the home, those services will block any kind of site that you don't want them to get to. NextDNS is the way I recommend going. It's $20 a year. It's incredibly inexpensive. If you need help setting it up, call me, okay? But it will block not only your pornography, it will block advertisements. Yay, love that, right? It will block, you can tell it to block YouTube. You can tell it to block YouTube during these set hours of the day. Hey, little Johnny, you can't access YouTube while you're at school, but when you get home, it's okay. You can set that up for any mobile device, any home computer. You have a guest that comes over for the holidays and they want to connect to your wireless network. Guess what? Now they can't get to that stuff either because you don't want cousins opening up doors for your children to see things that they shouldn't, right? So spend the $20, get the NextDNS, highly recommend it. Other questions?
So does all of this also apply to Apple?
Yes. Yes, it does. Apple is a little unique in that they are very restrictive in what they allow into their system. So by default, Apple is more secure. I hate Apple. And it's personal preference, honestly. I like the freedom. No, of course I'll help you. Of course I'll help you. But yes, you still want some of these protections, okay? Because you are still vulnerable to the scams and those things. Where Apple does better is things like the viruses. Now, I will tell you, as Apple grows bigger, now they're coming more under attack because, well, hey, more people have Apple devices. So it used to be, you were always told, Apples don't need antivirus software. That's not true anymore. You definitely need that protection. So yes, all of this still applies. How you implement it is a little bit different, but you still need it. Yeah. Other questions?
For the password managers, is there a way to set it up, like, for instance, if on your smart TV and you're trying to log into Netflix, if your password is 54 characters long, and you're trying to do that from your remote control, is there ways to automatically populate that?
No, not with your smart devices, no. And that's just the nature of the smart devices. You know, those you typically have to enter character by character. So.
You have the option to pick your password, though. You don't have to do the...
Correct, yes. And typically for something like Netflix, I will do that second option where I won't have that 54 character. You know, I'll have something shorter that is just easier to type in. So now that being said, that does make it more open to attack. So if you have those shorter passwords, change it every now and again. You know, hey, I haven't changed this one in a year. Let me go and switch it out. Other questions?
This would be a bad thing to do after you just explained all this to us, but should someone get a virus, what's like the immediate thing that they should do?
Turn your computer off and call somebody.
Okay.
Yeah. And the reason why I say that is if your computer is powered off, the virus can't do anything, right? It can't steal your information. It can't go out there and get worse. Just shut it down. Don't try and keep using it and powering through and saying, oh, it's okay, I'll just keep using it until someone can get out here. I mean, for customers that call me, they can typically expect a couple of day wait. And by that time, the password could be or the virus could be so ingrained in the system, my only option is to say, I got to get rid of everything. So yeah, if you are pretty sure that you have a virus, shut it down and call somebody. Now, I will say there is a type of threat out there, and it's more a fear tactic. You're browsing the internet and you get this advertisement that looks real that says your computer's infected with a virus, right? And it's just this big scary page and it gives you this phone number to call. Typically, that's literally just an advertisement, okay? If you have like the Next DNS that I recommended, it blocks all that stuff, so you don't have to worry about those. But if you do see it, and that's what it looks like, shut the computer down, turn it back on, browse around. If you don't see it again, you're fine. Look at the name of those pop-ups as well. I've got Malwarebytes on my computer. If it alerts me to a virus, it says, this is Malwarebytes, and I'm telling you what's going on. Right? If anything else comes up and says that I have a virus, I know it's not real.
Is there, like my work laptop, whenever you power it on, it goes through and it encrypts everything that's on the system before you log in?
Yeah.
And that way, if you do connect to a Starbucks or whatever, your data is encrypted. Is there a free software that you recommend for that on your personal device?
So you're dealing with two different things there. If you're at Starbucks and you turn your computer on, your data is now by default unencrypted. So you're still at risk. So I do recommend encryption. Right? That's literally where you take your document, the information on your computer, and they turn it to gibberish. Right? So anybody, if I get your phone and I try and just look at the raw data, I can't read it because it's essentially passworded. It looks like gibberish. Right? On that side of it, a lot of computers have it built in, all your phones. Apple, by default, is encrypted. Android, you have to typically turn that on. And Windows, it just depends on the version of Windows you have. If you do need to connect to like a Starbucks thing, a public Wi-Fi, what you want at that point is called a VPN. Yeah, and that's where you're sending all of your internet traffic through a safe hub, if you will. a safe doorway, and it kind of bypasses that public access a little bit. There are free ones out there, but they're really limited and really slow because you can only go as fast as they allow you. So if you need a VPN option, typically you're going to end up paying something. And it's 20 bucks a month or so for a good VPN. Yeah.
What do you suggest for the phone calls that might get a little pushy, like they might have some personal information about you, and I've always been told not really to get into even a yes or no, and be recording it.
Yes, definitely. Just hang up. Literally, hang up. If there's anything fishy about the phone call, hang up. Because if they're not talking to you, they can't get your information. You get a lot of robo-phone calls, right? You talk to the computer, and sometimes it's legitimate. I continually get ones from AT&T, which is my phone provider, and hey, you qualify for DirecTV. And I was like, I don't care, just hang up. Other times you answer hello, and it's silent. You hear nothing. Typically, that's a robocall, and they're recording because they're trying to hear background information to dig up things on you. So don't keep telling hello. Don't, hello, this is Jonathan. Hello, hello. Now they have my name, right? What I recommend with phone calls, in your phone, program all the companies that you do business with. If you do business with Spectrum, put their phone number. I've got my bank in there. I've got my bank's fraud line in there. So sometimes businesses have multiple phone numbers, right? Put it in. And when I answer my phone, if it's just a number, I don't answer. Let it go to voicemail, I'll call them back. That's typically the safest way, Depending on your line of work, sometimes that's not possible. I understand that. But, for the average Joe, I think that's the easiest thing.
Just a little testimony too. This incorporates more than just people that use technology. Mom and Dad, they just recently got a smartphone. They refuse to get a computer. Absolutely will not get a Facebook account or anything. I mean, they're just dead set against it. They won't get Wi-Fi. They won't get anything. But they were still hacked because their information, even though they're not on the computer or they're not on the cell phone, their banks, their credit cards,
Yep.
they're all using computers to do transactions and stuff like that. So somebody ran up a credit line in my mom and dad's name. So they did what you suggested. They froze their credit. Nobody can pull anything on their credit at all. Like you said, it's absolutely free. And whenever they want to go purchase something new on credit, they have to go through the steps of balling their credit, applying, and then they freeze it again. Because even though they're not using the technology, your stuff is still out on the internet somewhere.
Yeah.
Because companies use it.
Yeah. And if you have somebody that is in your life who, it falls into that category, volunteer to help them out, right? There is nothing wrong with, you having a list of passwords for your elderly parents so that when, something happens, you've got that information. You obviously have to have their permission and all of that stuff. Please don't go and just grab it, but have their permission, yeah, and definitely help them with that because you're right, it's out there. And if you've got a cell phone, it's almost impossible to get just a flip phone anymore. It is possible, but it's rare. If you've got one of these, you've got information out there. Yeah?
If you have somebody who is doing like the ransom
Ransomware?
and you don't have a backup, what would you do in that instance?
You have one of two options. Say goodbye to your data or pay the money. In those cases, if you pay the money, they will release it. Okay? And the reason they do is because they know as soon as they don't, people aren't going to give them any money because they'll realize, well, what's the point? I'm going to lose it either way. So, there was, last year, there was the hack of the oil pipeline, right? And it was with ransomware. They paid the money. And they released their computers. So those are your two options. If you don't have that backup, pay the money or say goodbye to your data. Other questions? Okay. thank you, everyone. Hopefully that was helpful. I said, please, feel free to get a hold of me. I'm happy to help however I can. This stuff is complex. There's a lot of options. I said the software I provided for you, in each of those categories, there's hundreds of different pieces of software that you can use. And it can get overwhelming. I get it. I don't know everything, but I'm happy to help where I can. Yeah. Yes, yeah, especially with kids. I'm telling you, it is difficult, and I mean, Etan's getting older now, and I think every day it gets a little harder to figure out how do I protect him, because I want to allow him the freedom and the wonderful tools that are out there on the internet, but I want to keep him safe as well. And how do I do that, and what's that balance? And that's really, number one, that's one of those things where it's different for each family, right? Because your needs, the age of your kids, the maturity of your kids, right? There are some 11-year-olds that, frankly, like or 12-year-olds now, geez, it's too old, right? Where, I give him a fair amount of freedom because I trust him. He's a responsible kid. I know some other 12-year-olds, no, not happening. So it really just depends on what you're looking for. But if you've got kids, please, how often have you been in the store and they're whining a little bit and here, just watch YouTube? Oof, that can be dangerous because YouTube is very good at next video, next video, next video, and oh my gosh, what am I watching, right? There are ways to block that and protect against that. So by all means, I'm happy to help. Thank you, everyone. I'll be around. You've got my contact information.
Thank you, Brother Jonathan. Such valuable information. I don't know about you, but I learned a lot. I see some things in our family we can improve on. Brother Jonathan's helped our family with different technical issues and also pretty much from the ground up everything at the church here. And so we're really appreciative of all he's done here. And what a great blessing it is to have somebody that's giving you your cell phone number and saying, I will come and do this for you. There's not a lot of people out there that will just come and do this for you. And so that's a huge blessing. I really believe through the Word of God that God gives us intelligence, right? He gives us a brain. And to me, this is only intelligent to make sure that you're protected in these things. It just makes sense, and that's why I really thought that it was good to be able to have one of these. And so if you need an extra piece of paper there, the lesson back there are some. If you want to give it to someone, if someone that's not here, we'll change it. We'll put those on the welcome table for the people that were in Awana. They can watch it back on live stream. But I think it's just such valuable information. Thank you very much, Brother Jonathan. And that's what we do this Guarding Our Hearts and Homes for. These are things that can protect our families. And Jesus is certainly about us doing that, using our brain, protecting ourselves from the wiles of Satan, right? And I don't know anything else in this world where Satan has a better grasp and where he has more tricks right now than technology. I mean, that's just me personally. Maybe you know somewhere else, but technology is one of those things. My mom used to say, if you go, you can find trouble. But technology is one of those things where trouble finds you. You don't have to be trying to do anything wrong, and it can find you. So really, really valuable information. I hope you take advantage of those things and those opportunities to make sure that you're protected, okay? Let's go to the Lord in prayer. We want to pray tonight for Brother Brian Patrick. It's Brother Dan's son. He has COVID and pneumonia, not doing real well with that. And so we want to keep him in our prayers tonight. And then we also just want to lift up everybody that's going through sickness, colds. It's flu season, of course. I do want to remind everyone that we go through protocols here to clean everything, every doorknob in between church, the restrooms in between every service. We do that all the time thoroughly. And we have a better idea. And the building gets sprayed once a week with Clorox spray or whatever it is that's supposed to kill COVID-19. And so we're still going through all those protocols, doing all those things, keeping safe. There's hand sanitizer. Some of it in the hallway smells like absolute, just straight alcohol. So if you use that one and you smell it, it's killing something. If it's not just your nostril hairs, it's strong. But we're still making sure that we just be safe. But again, like I told you, before COVID ever was a thing, we had hand sanitizer in the school, and I cleaned everything because I'm just kind of a germ I'm not really into germs. So that's just me personally. So we'll continue to do that, but just so you know that we're doing those things. So let's go to the Lord in prayer. We'll pray also for the evening offering. If you weren't able to give today, we will have the offering. There is text to give as well. as we continue to search and reach the hearts of people for missions. And then we'll have this invitation time.